Welcome to this interviewing best practices training specifically for the cannabis industry job seekers. In this training, we will be covering cannabis-specific interviewing information. During this session, you will learn how to prepare for an effective cannabis job interview. Let's get started. Disclaimer, this content was not created by the Department of Cannabis Regulation or the City of Los Angeles and is for informational purposes only. This information is subject to change and does not replace or supersede the Los Angeles Municipal Code nor constitute legal advice. Objectives. At the end of this session, you will be able to understand your strengths and weaknesses and what you can do to present yourself effectively, establish what interviewers are looking for and how best to match your skills to this, prepare to answer typical interview questions, and develop your interview confidence to tackle difficult situations and get the job you want. The aim of an interview is to best present who you are and what you can do. Ultimately, you want to portray yourself in a way that positively establishes these two key points. If you achieve this, the employers will be able to make an informed choice as to your suitability for the position. Interviewers look for, can the person do the job and fit in with the team and organization? They want to know that you will be a good fit for the job and that you will integrate with the team or organization you're going to work for. On the other side of this, they don't want people who won't fit in with the people around them or be able to perform the job. So the challenge for the interviewer is to establish that a person in front of them can do what they say they are going to do and are being authentic about who they represent themselves to be. Make sure you engage with the person interviewing you and try to establish a good relationship with them. Making an impression. It is very important that you make a first good impression and make yourself memorable. I will cover 3 ways you can do this. Number 1 is be passionate and have conviction. During the interview process, you need to explain that you think you're suitable for the role and that you will do a good job at it. Of course, this will be true of most people applying. So if you can do this in a way that demonstrates your real passion and conviction, you will help set yourself apart from other candidates. You need to come across in such a way that demonstrates how much you want the job and that you are enthusiastic to take up the position and perform well. Number 2, tell a story, be interesting. Interviewers are just people, and people love a good story. If you can make what you are talking about interesting to the interviewer, you will again set yourself apart and be remembered by them. So tell them what makes the job interesting to you or what led you to get into the type of work you're applying for. Of course, whatever you talk about must be relevant to the role you're applying for, but it is not difficult to relate it to your own experience and make it interesting to hear. Number 3, remain friendly and positive. This seems like a very obvious point, but you'll be surprised how many people forget to smile and retain their manners when under stress. A simple, warm, friendly smile when you enter the room will help develop the rapport you need to create an environment where you can truly engage with the employers. There are 5 elements to dressing appropriately. Consistent. The clothes you choose should be consistent with the role that you're applying for. A role as a contractor on a building site would probably be expected to wear completely different clothing to that of a job as an office manager. If you're not sure what is consistent with the cannabis organization you're interviewing for, you can usually get an idea from their website or even by paying a quick visit to their offices, where you can observe employees entering and leaving the building. Lunchtime is always very good for this. When you really are in doubt as to what to wear, you should always dress up and wear something formal. It is far better to be the best dressed person in the interview room than the worst. Smart. Whatever style of outfit you choose to wear, always ensure it is a smart version. This means making sure everything is ironed and in good standard. It's advisable to visit a bathroom just before you interview to review your clothing and general attire. Clean. This one should really be a given. An outfit with food down it or a dirty mark really does not set a good first impression. Likewise, shoes should be polished and clean, as they are often the first thing an interviewer will look at. Individual. This was mentioned earlier when we talked about setting yourself apart. Clothes can be a great way to show your individuality, and a small statement item can help remind the interviewer about you. Don't go overboard though, and keep it simple. Perhaps some interesting earrings or a bold but simple tie. Fresh. Ensure you smell as good as you look. There is nothing worse than a strong, unpleasant odor, which will get you remembered for the wrong reasons. If you smoke, save this until after the interview. Store your clothes somewhere that will not pick up day-to-day smells, and perhaps cook and eat your breakfast before you get into your interview clothes. Very, very important is to make sure you're on time. Don't ever be late to an interview. It's most typical that your interview will be based around questions developed from reviewing your resume, cover letter, and/or application form, and it's highly likely that the interviewer will have these in their hand when they begin the interview. Because of this, it's really important that you reread these documents prior to the interview so that you have an awareness of the likely direction the interviewer will take. Rereading this information will also help ensure you don't contradict yourself during the interview. Researching the organization. Aside from establishing more about you, the interviewers may well want to know what you know about their organization and the job you're applying for. This will help them determine how well you have considered the job you're looking to take up, and also give them an idea on why you think you would be a good fit. Therefore, doing some research on the organization you're applying to is critical. Preparing the key points you want to make. It's a good idea to plan the key pieces of information you would like to get across in an interview. That way, you can try and ensure that your best elements are presented to the interviewers. Preparing questions to ask. Of course, interviews are a two-way process, and you should also think about the questions that you want to ask the interviewer. Usually, you will be asked by the interviewer if you have any questions of your own. If you are not asked, don't be afraid to request the opportunity to do so. It is good practice to prepare the questions that you want to ask prior to the interview. You can take these questions on a sheet of paper to the interview. During an interview, there are two important questions you want to ask. Question number one, the question is, what do you see as the important qualities of this job? If you can gain a good understanding of what the employer expects from the role, it will help prepare you for a second interview. If there is no second interview and you're offered the job, the response to the question will help prepare you for starting the job role. Number two, what happened to the previous person in the role? The answer to this question will give you some insight into the role itself. If the previous person was promoted, it signals that there may well be opportunities for progression within the organization. If the person was fired from the role or left under difficult circumstances, it could mean that there is a lot of work to do in the role to repair any damage made by the previous person. If the interviewer is reluctant to tell you, this could signal even bigger warning signs. It's impossible to know exactly what questions you will be asked at an interview, and all interviews will vary slightly in their approach. However, there are some standard questions that are likely to be addressed in a cannabis industry interview in some form or another, and it's worth spending some time thinking of suitable responses. Cannabis-specific industry questions. Let's take a look at each of these questions. Question number one, how can your skills and prior experience help our cannabis company? Study the listing for the cannabis job and take note of the job duties and responsibilities. If you don't have any professional cannabis experience, list any hard or soft skills that align with the abilities they're looking for. Once you have a solid list of skills, practice discussing them. Remember to use examples that highlight those particular skills and quantifiable instances of success when possible. Furthermore, you can provide rough ideas of how you can help improve the efficiency of the cannabis company. Question number two, what attracted you to the cannabis industry? There are a variety of cannabis jobs to fill out there, but no matter which one you're targeting, you'll run into this interview question. Out of the common cannabis job interview questions, it may seem the easiest to answer. Mentioning that you're an avid cannabis consumer is a start, but going beyond that is recommended. Research shows two of the most common reasons people join the cannabis industry is for the opportunity to create change and exercise the ability to empower others. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Your strengths and weaknesses will, of course, be personal to you. However, there are a few key things to bear in mind. Firstly, your strengths and weaknesses should be consistent with anything else you have shared about yourself. Secondly, they should be relevant to the job you're applying for while being concise and to the point. Strengths and weaknesses exercise. Assessing your strengths. Assess your skills and you will identify your strengths. This is an exercise worth doing before any interview. Make a list of your skills, dividing them into 3 categories. The first category is knowledge-based skills. These are acquired from education and experience, such as computer skills, languages, degrees, training, and technical ability. The second category are transferable skills, your portable skills that you take from job to job, such as communication and people skills, analytical problem solving, and planning skills. The third category are personal traits, such as your unique qualities, such as dependable, flexible, friendly, hardworking, expressive, formal, punctual, and being a team player. When you complete this list, choose 3 to 5 of those strengths that match what the employer is seeking in the job posting. Make sure you can give specific examples to demonstrate why you say that is your strength if probed further. Now, the weaknesses section. Talking about your weaknesses can put you in a difficult position, and you should be careful how you approach it. What you don't want to do is highlight anything that will make you seem unsuitable for the role. But at the same time, interviewers are wise to frivolous answers that too obviously spin the weakness into a positive. For this exercise, prepare an answer to each weakness identified, explaining what it is you do to overcome the weakness. Say what happened in the past and what you did to fix this, or what the weakness in your personality is and how you mitigate it. Examples could be, one is, I can be quite shy in new company. So to overcome this, I try to prepare myself fully before I meet people so that I can be sure I have all the facts and information I need, which makes me feel more confident. Second example is, I have been known to be quite demanding of my team, which can come across as uncaring. So I am careful to develop a relationship with everyone that keeps our communication channel open and lets them know that I am approachable and fair. Now, make sure you practice this exercise before any future interview, as your strengths and weaknesses can change over time. Now, let's move on to body language. How to sit. This might seem like an odd thing to be concerned about, but it comes up time and time again as a key fear for people in interviews. According to body language experts, the key to sitting during interviews is to change positions throughout the interview, move around in the chair and mirror, and match the interviewer from time to time. This is useful as it helps ease you out of staying stuck still with nerves. However, you should avoid being fidgety, so make sure your movements are smooth and free-flowing. It's usually best to keep your posture open and avoid crossing your arms over your body, which can seem that you're trying to hide something. To help this, you can try to comfortably relax one hand over the other, or with one arm on the chair and the other in your lap. Hand gestures. Open hand gestures help with communication and will help ensure you hold the interviewer's interest while emphasizing key points or elements of interest. It is said that right hand gestures show you are giving out information, while left hand gestures are used when you receive information. Keeping your arms and palms open is a sign of honesty. Interviewer. The interviewer will have their own body language, and it will help you set a tone for your own. We've mentioned mirroring and matching, which is just you emulating what the interviewer does. This can help build rapport, but if overdone, can seem rude. Comfort zone. Your aim should be to make any body language processes completely natural. So begin thinking about how you will act prior to actually being in the interview room. If you have a particular habit that you often do when nervous, think how you can stop yourself from doing this and revert to more positive body language. Practice will make perfect. Closing the interview. Interviews tend to have a general flow of their own and will come to a close quite naturally. There are 3 key things to remember towards the end of an interview. Number 1, asking further questions. It's possible the interviewer will ask if you have any further questions at the end of an interview. Don't be scared to say that you have no further questions if you have all the information you need. Your closing statement. Sometimes it's possible that the interviewer will ask you whether you are interested in the job. Even if you have some reservations, it's best to make this decision in your own time and outside the pressured environment of the interview. It's best to keep your options open by stating you want the job. You can then make an informed decision later. Last impressions. Just as the first impressions are really important in an interview, the impression you leave should always be positive too. Of course, the last impression is the image of you that the interviewer is going to take away with them. So a good one will make all the difference. I hope this information helps you prepare for an amazing interview to get the job you want in the cannabis industry. Best of luck to you.